Alright, let's jump back to the front here. Because again, we still do have to do our final pass here over our environment, so we will adjust the fog when we're doing this final pass over the environment. And again, everything will be moving. I just can't turn it on with OBS because OBS freaks out. So, but everything will be fully animated, moving in the wind, all that sort of stuff. Okay. We do have to tackle this window as well. Let's go with those pieces we used for the doorway again. I'm just going to copy them from down here because it's close and easy. So I'm going to select these pieces and duplicate them. Let's scale them up a bit. Yeah, we'll do them bit by bit, I think, because they're three separate pieces. They won't scale properly together, so we'll tackle the side pieces first. I was going to say I may jump back into unlit, but this section here is not too bad. I should be able to see what I'm doing. Let's scale them up. Like I said, guys, do remember, if you do have any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's always welcome. If you just want to watch, that's completely fine. May just scale it in, I think, in one direction because it's a bit wide. Like I said, do remember too, the lighting is not going to look correct until I do a rebuild on the lighting, and I don't do that on stream simply because it takes about a half an hour. So I generally do that after the stream, so the next day, tomorrow for instance, when I'm streaming next, the lighting should be rebuilt. Let's just pull back here and have a bit of a look. I'm not going to put wrought iron in here simply because I'm going to make this into like a small sitting area in this bay window, so I'm going to place cushions and things through here. But I do want to do something with the window frames because we have all of our other wooden window frames covered in wood. If I can get to one where we can see it. So maybe in here it'll be easier. We have these wooden frames around our windows, and I want to make sure all the windows are actually framed up properly. So we need to do something with this window box as well. We could bring some columns into these corners. Let's see if that would look any good. Let's duplicate one of these. Again, let's scale it down. Not too much. A little bit more. This is a really hard, difficult corner because this bay window is so narrow. We have to be careful we don't extend these columns outside the building like that. So we're going to have to do some scaling to make sure they fit.
So my feet start to tremble, they lift off the ground. I leave it all behind, and I can see the horizon, it's calling my name. I leave it all behind. I'll rise above all that I hold dear. I'll never fall. I'll always soar across the sky.
Again, I'm still not convinced that I'm going to use them here. I may not use them at all. I'm just playing with it at the moment to see if I can get something that looks interesting. This is a unique sort of, it's only used once in the building, this section of the window, so if we have to create something in Max to fit it specifically, then we'll do that. Which we may have to do because this column is just not looking right there, so... We may be able to use the, at least for the larger window in the middle, the arched pieces we use for the arch windows. So let's grab one of them. I don't know if I created a blueprint for that or not. I'll just have a quick look. I did, so let's pull this in. Again, I created a blueprint made out of four pieces in this case, and I've done it that way so I can reuse these pieces again and again. Instead of making this one mesh, it's a blueprint made up of 4 different meshes. Now, that is going to increase your draw calls, but I think the savings you make in memory in the engine are worth an extra 3 draw calls. So as long as you don't go nuts with your draw calls, you should be fine. And let's scale it in a bit. And I grabbed the wrong thing.
The setting could hardly be more perfect. New eyes, new vision for the world. An unparalleled blending of science and art.
Often it is difficult for a person to control a complicated sound synthesizer quickly enough. A computer can take over much of this control work and do it more quickly and accurately than a human being.
And all this has been just the beginning.
Okay, let's get this glass sitting correct as well. So it's not too bad. Eddie Brock Alpha. No, this is not for a game, Eddie. It's a cinematic. I'm going to create a cinematic in Unreal. Yeah, so that's what this is for. It's not for a game, for a cinematic. Because I created a cinematic using this building in 2006, I think it was, using UDK. So I want to, yeah, it's an animation. Yep, that's right. I want to redo it now in the new engine. Hey, Sniper Echo, good to see you. How's things? So yeah, yep. No game, just a cinematic. So we're going to, I'll create cameras and things after we've finished designing the building. And then I'll render it out to a movie like I did with the UDK version. Oh, thanks, Eddie. I'm glad you like it. It's coming along. You forgot I was back, Sniper Echo? Yeah, back this week. It was only last week I couldn't stream because I had to do some stuff for work. I had to go interstate. But I'm back now. I'm just going to scale this in a little bit as well. Simply because it's sticking through my window there. I don't want that. I'm going to have to move them around a bit because it is a blueprint. It made up of 4 objects, so scaling one scales them all a little bit weirdly. So. Eddie says that he'd love to 3D model, but the amount of work seems daunting. Look, the reason, as Sniper Echo knows, and guys that are regulars to my channel, the reason I'm on Twitch is to encourage you guys to do 3D. I mean, I want you to do 3D. It's a fun thing to do. I must remember to turn this autosave off. It's really annoying. It's a really fun thing to do, and that's why I'm on Twitch, to encourage you guys to do 3D, to look at any of the work you guys are doing. So I always like looking at the stuff you guys do. It can be daunting, I'm not going to lie. It can be. Particularly if you're creating something like a game, because you have so much you've got to work on. So this is probably the worst case scenario as far as the amount of work goes, having to do an environment, then do a building, and then do the interior and all that sort of thing. But if you're just creating 3D models in the 3D program that you're going to render out, it's not too bad. My daily job is doing ArchViz work. I used to be in games and then I did some film work. But now I do ArchViz, and generally with ArchViz now you're really only concentrating on either the exterior shot of a building or a couple of interior shots. Sometimes I do an animation, but it's usually a lot less work than making a game. So if you're going to make a game, that's a lot of work. A lot of work. The last game studio I worked at, the project took 2.5, 3 years to do one game, so it can take a lot of time, and that's with a team of like 200 people. So the Sniper Echo, yes, yeah, that's what, as Sniper Echo says, that's great advice. Start small. Even the most complicated piece of work starts with a small step. That's right. And even a complicated piece of work is made up of very small pieces that you gradually build upon. So what game did I work on, Eddie? Ooh, I don't know if I want to say. Simply because they weren't great games. The last game I worked on was for Warner Brothers, one of the Looney Tunes games. And I did, they did a proposal for a Mad Max game as well, which didn't go ahead at the time. But yeah, I worked on, so I did assets for a Mad Max game. The last game that was AAA game that was released was a Looney Tunes game, though, from me. The team, I should say, not me, but the team of about 200 people worked on. But I haven't been in games development now for a good 6 years or so. I got out of games and went into ArchViz. I did film work prior to that and after that as well, but no, I'm not famous. No, I'm not. I'm really not. Yeah, no. Yeah, so I think the last film piece that I did was I did some stuff for, you remember the Fox Studio? I did some work for Fox Studios. They made Jumper, I think it was called. I did some stuff with that. That's Jumper, that movie, which again wasn't great, so so I don't like to talk about it much. But now I do ArchViz work. I specialise in photogrammetry now. Eddie is asking, is film work less stressful for me, or was it just an overly stressed game team? Yeah. I will say it's probably an overly stressed game team, but generally when you're working in games it's always stressful anyway, because you've got deadlines you've got to meet, and if you don't meet them, the publishers don't pay the studio, and that can cause all sorts of problems. Games development is, I don't want to discourage you guys from doing games, because I know a lot of you guys want to get into games, and that's fine. It's what you love doing, you love playing them, you love making them, I'm sure. I did. I don't generally want to go back into games development now, but yeah, a lot of work, tight deadlines, long hours. Yeah. Film work was less stressful, but film work can be stressful as well. ArchViz work, architectural visualization, is much less stressful than either of those professions. That's why I do it at the moment. But again, I do ArchViz. I specialize in photogrammetry. So again, any of you guys that are new to my channel or don't know who I am or what I'm about can go to my website, phildoes3d.com, which I'm going to go to now. You can read up on me and what I've done and who I've worked for and all the rest of that sort of stuff, and some of my previous work you can check out. As soon as my website decides to load, there we go. So you can read up about me here. You can check out some of my some of the work, because I sell my work online as well on the creative market and Cornucopia 3D. Sniper Echo says he's going to convince me to work for him one day. Well, I probably would. I'd love to work for you, Sniper. Yeah, dude, check out my website here, and you can check out the gallery of some of my previous work as well. They'll read up about me and some of the credits that I've been involved in here. This isn't all of my work, by the way. This is just a selection of some stuff. I really have to go through my gallery here and swap out some pieces for some newer stuff that I've done. Some of these are quite old. This was concept art that was created for that Mad Max game that I was telling you guys about a minute or two ago. When I worked in games development, I was an environment artist and a bit of a technical artist, but I also do concept art. Although they had concept artists, occasionally the other artists in the studio would do concept stuff as well. So yeah, the image you're seeing here is some concept art that was created for the Mad Max, what do they call it now, the pitch, for the Mad Max pitch that was done for the game, that was never finished, never created by the studio I worked for. Yeah, Sniper says he's working on a financial package for me. Cool. Well, you know how to find me, Sniper. I'm, on Twitch, so I'd definitely be into that. Yeah, the Mad Max movie, the last one, Fury Road, I think it was called. An Australian director, of course. Mad Max is an Australian movie. Yeah, it was pretty full on, that's for sure. Eddie says that Tom Hardy's going to do Venom movie next, so maybe you'll end up on the Venom game. I don't work in games development anymore. I do ArchViz work. I don't work for a game studio anymore. The last game studio I worked for was THQ, I think, from memory, who don't exist anymore, by the way. So yeah, but I got to meet the director when the studio was pitching for the Mad Max game. This was before Fury Road was made. which is the last Mad Max movie. And he's a nice guy. So it was cool. You get to meet some really cool people working in games development. You get to meet some really cool people working in film as well. And archviz. Not as much as film or games, but still interesting people. It's interesting to hear that Tom Hardy's doing Venom movie next. I didn't hear about that. It sounds cool. Very cool. So yeah, guys, check out my website if you want to know who I am. Eddie says, well, you're interesting people. Thank you, Eddie. You guys are interesting too. You don't have to be doing interesting work to be an interesting person. Go for Xenon, good to see you. Go for Xenon says, archviz people are not as cool. Hi, Xenon. I wouldn't say they're not as cool. I think they're as cool. They're just, what's the word? Not as creative, maybe. I don't like saying that because archviz work is still creative. I'm not saying it's not, but you get a lot. You're exposed to a larger group of creative people in film and in games than you are in archviz. Cool, Eddie. Yeah, do follow my Twitch channel. That would be appreciated. Thank you very much. And that way you'll know when I'm live. But my schedule doesn't change unless I have to be sent interstate for work. Like last week, I stream every Monday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific in the US. Generally Wednesdays as well, but my workload at the studio has been so full on I haven't been able to do Wednesdays at the moment. And I see you followed. Thanks, Eddie. So yeah, definitely though, at the moment, every Monday, Tuesday, 5 p.m. US, I'm live, which is 1 a.m. in the UK and 10 a.m. in Australia. Well, thank you, Sniper Echo, for saying that. It's up to you guys as to whether you like my work and you think you get anything of value out of what I do. Like I said, I try to be as helpful as I can, and if you've got any questions regarding 3D that you're not sure about, I'm always happy to help if I can. So do feel free if you're trying 3D out or you've got a problem with something you're doing to pop in to chat and chat to me. If I can help you out, I'm happy to try. But getting back to what Gopher Xenon said about archviz people, it's just that when you work in games and in film, you're exposed to a wider variety of artists. You have technical artists, you've got environment artists, you've got character artists, you've got concept artists. So a larger group of creative people than you do in archviz work. The Hambone says, the concept art you had up, how did you make it look so realistic? I've got to turn this auto-save off, it's really annoying. You're programming, but you plan on getting into art soon? Well, that's interesting. I come from a programming background as well, actually. That's why I was doing technical art as well. When I went to university, I studied both programming and design and started my career in web development. So I was doing websites and all that sort of stuff. So I come from a programming background originally too. Programming, yep. So yes, I still do some programming and some scripting work in my art field, less now in archviz, a lot more when I was working in games. Like a lot of people, I use 3D Studio Max, and you can create a lot of really interesting scripts using Max. You want to do it all, there's no reason you can't do it all, but remember what I've always said all along, guys, you better to be, don't become a jack of all trades and a master of none. You want to focus on one thing and do it really well. You're more likely to find work that way. If you can do everything well, then that's even better. But if you can't do everything really well, then concentrate on doing one thing really well. And then once you've got one thing down really well, you can start expanding out from there. Because like I said, you don't want to be jack of all trades and a master of none. You really want to specialize in an area, which is why I don't do character work. There are character artists that are much better than I ever could be. So I leave them to do the character artwork, and I just concentrate on environment stuff now. So, and animation as well. I'm not an animator, so I don't do animation work either. Eddie says it's so true. You learned that in IT. Yeah, well, that's, you're okay with being a jack of all trades, the Hambone. You do not plan to do game dev and art. Oh, okay, fine. And I'm not saying you can't be good at everything. There are people that are good at everything. You know, I've known people that are, you know, great programmers, great artists, and they can animate as well. I'm not one of them, but, you know, I have met some people like that. The Hambone says, you're hoping the project you're working on does well, but you don't mind if it does not either. Well, that's a good attitude to have. Yeah, well, that's a great attitude to have, because you don't want to put your heart and soul into something and make it your life's work for the general public to say, I hate it, or it's crap. You know, that can be really disheartening. So to take that sort of attitude is a good way to live. And there's always going to be people that don't like what you do anyway, regardless of who you are or what you do. There's always going to be some people somewhere in the world that don't like you, don't like your work, or for whatever reason. That's just life. Making it just a hobby sounds like a good way to start anyway. You're an enterprise developer by day? Okay, yep. So long as you have something that can pay the bills while you're doing your hobby, then hey, why not? And like I said, it's a good attitude to have if it's just a hobby and you don't, you know, you're not investing your entire life into something. At least not initially. Yeah, good attitude to have. Yep. Certainly the way to go. Now, you know, do remember though, if you want to do anything well, you do have to devote a lot of time to it. You can't expect to become great at something if you don't want to work at it. So I'm not saying, you know, you shouldn't be working hard toward whatever goal you have, because, you know, you do need to work hard at anything. So you want to be decent at art. I'm sure you do. You know, everybody wants to be good at what they like doing, but you are going to have to put the work in. Yeah, biggest enemy is time. Look, I know how that goes. I've been incredibly busy, as Sniper Echo will tell you, over the last few months at work, especially for games development. And again, games development is really an area that requires a lot of work and time. People don't appreciate, I don't think, when they play a game, just how much work goes into making that game. It's a lot of work. You work 40 hours a week? Geez, I wish I only worked 40 hours a week. I work more than 40 hours a week, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh, you only get roughly 15 hours a week? Okay. Oh, to work on it. Yep. Yeah. And I know it's hard, guys. If you're doing a full-time job and you want to work in games development as either an artist or a programmer or an animator or whatever, concept artist, it can be really, even if you're just a streamer and you stream to Twitch and you've got a full-time job, it can be really hard. I know, it can. It really is. It's not easy. Because you only have so much time in a day, and, you know, at the end, what ends up getting neglected is probably sleep, and the sleep is really important. Eddie is asking, so 3D Studio Max is what you like the best versus other modelers, or 3D Studio Max is just the only one with the tools you need? 3D Studio Max is my preferred 3D program, simply because I've been using it for more than 10 years. I was using Max when it was when it used to be called 3D Studio before they called it Max, so back to version 1, and they're at like version 18 now. 2018 is the latest version of Max. So I'm used to using Max. I know the program. I like the program. In ArchViz, it's the program that's used the most, simply because it has a lot of tools built into it for ArchViz artists, creating stairwells and window frames and all that type of thing. It's always been used in ArchViz, and it's the preferred program of most studios that work in ArchViz. And I like the program. It's nice and clean. The interface of Max is a nice, clean interface, which is what I really like. As Sniper Echo will tell anyone, I really like a clean interface. I hate things that are really cluttered, like ZBrush. ZBrush is a wonderful program. I use it, but I hate the interface because it's not easy to find things. It looks busy. I like this nice, clean look. Now, my interface here is looking a bit cluttered at the moment, simply because I've got V-Ray installed at the moment, because we use V-Ray in the studio to do renders. And I have NVIDIA's physics tools here as well. Hambone says, you do wonder sometimes if you really have the time. Oh no, don't think that way, guys. I don't want to discourage you guys from doing 3D. Just do as much, whenever you have some free time, work on your model. You don't have to do it every day if you don't have the time. Just whenever you've got the time, even if it's only 20 minutes a day, then just open up your 3D program like Blender, which is completely free. Sniper Echo uses Blender. Open up Blender and play around with your model and just do a bit at a time. You don't feel like you've got to sit in front of the computer all hours of the night after work to create your 3D models. You don't. Just do it when you've got the time. Do a bit of, do a little bit each time, and after a while, you'll be amazed at what you can create. You really will. So please don't hambone think that you, if you don't really have the time, even if it's only, like I said, 20 minutes here and there every 2 weeks. Just do it, because the more you practice, the better you'll get. That's basically all it comes down to with 3D, guys. These people you see that create some amazing work do create amazing work, but it's just because they've been using it for a while and they know the program and they're experienced at it. And everybody can get that experience if they just devote a bit of time to doing it. And it doesn't have to be hours upon hours upon hours every day. It can just be 20 minutes a day, once a week even. It'll take a bit longer for you to get there, but you'll get there. Yeah, Sniper Echo says don't mention ZBrush. That's exactly right. Yeah, everybody that's a regular to my channel knows how much I hate the interface of ZBrush. I love the program. The program is outstanding. There is nothing else like it on the market to do that sort of sculpting, apart from the one that Autodesk have that I'm not using now, that I was using. What was it called? The sculpting program. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now. But ZBrush is a great program, and the new version 4 revision 8 is very good. I haven't installed it yet, but I should. I'm still using revision 7. And thank you, Hambone. I'm glad you like my stuff. I try to do a variety of work for my portfolio, which is what I've been telling you guys that do want to get into 3D. Make sure that you vary up your portfolio with a lot of different types of things. Don't just do all guns and don't just do all cars. If you want to get work anyway. Because studios don't want to see all guns and all cars. Have a car and have a gun, but don't fill your portfolio with all of that sort of stuff. Go for Xenon says, do you know if there's cheap Indian Chinese people that do UV unwrapping? That's the most annoying part of 3D modeling. I agree, it is the most annoying part, and it's probably the part that I like the least with regard to 3D, is the unwrapping and for your model. I'm sure there probably are cheap Chinese and Indian people that do it. I don't know of any. The studio I work for, we do all of our own stuff. We don't outsource that sort of thing. I'm sure you can find them if you looked. There seem to be a lot of them around. But no, I don't know. And I do my own, and that's the studio I work for, we do our own. So yeah, but you can buy programs that'll help you out in that regard. Kedza, is it? Fusion 360, I think that one is for modeling, not sure. Fusion 360. No, that's not the one I was talking about. It was the one that Autodesk had was, what is it called? There's ZBrush and there's, this is going to bug me. I'm going to check it out now, because you can actually rent it really cheap from Autodesk if you want to program like ZBrush. It's not ZBrush. I should know the name of it because I used to use it. Because I do remember, guys, too, that if you're a student, you can download and use Max for free for 3 years. I think it's 3 years. So if you're a student and you've got a student license, you can get a student license and the software is free for 3D Studio Max. I'll check that out in just a minute, Sniper Echo. I just want to find out what the name of this program is before I get completely annoyed. I'll check that out in a minute. Let me just check the name of this program, though, for anyone else that wants something like ZBrush that's not ZBrush. I'll know it when I see it. They don't actually update it anymore, which is the reason I stopped using it. Autodesk, this software that I'm talking about, one of my regulars uses it, and I can't remember. And I used to use it, like I said, but I use ZBrush now simply because Autodesk aren't updating it anymore. I will know it when I see it. I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. Like I said, I used to use it. I think it was Mudbox, maybe. Yeah, I think it might have been Mudbox. Yeah, it was Mudbox. So Mudbox is like ZBrush, but made by Autodesk. Has a nice clean interface. It's a great program. It's still a great program, even though they don't really update it much anymore. You can certainly download a free trial of it. If you're a student, you can use it for free for 3 years. There we go. Are you a student? Or if you want to actually be part of their subscription, it's only $10 a month. Again, I like the interface. It's like Max. It's nice and clean. It does the same sort of thing that ZBrush does, but ZBrush does it a little bit better, I have to admit. But you can still sculpt. That's what it's built for. Like ZBrush, you sculpt your models in it. Mudbox, that's it. Yep. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. It's been a busy week. So yeah, like I said, if you're a student, you can download it for free. If you want something like ZBrush that has a cleaner interface, but ZBrush is a better program, simply because Autodesk don't update it anymore. So let me check out this Twitter post here, Sniper. I'll copy this link. So what am I looking at here, Sniper? Okay. Quick and dirty render about halfway there with the scope. It does look very nice, Sniper Echo. This is a scope for a gun, I'm assuming. Maybe. It's a nice render, actually. It's a nice model, actually, too. Yeah, nice. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I'm assuming it's a scope for a gun. Look, I don't know that much about guns, guys, so, you know, forgive me if it sounds like, if I sound like an idiot. So yes, it's for a gun. You have to make a few new scopes. Yep. My phone is going off here. My apologies for that, guys. A scope for a gun, cool. You're going to texture. This is untextured, I'm assuming. It looks like just it's a great model. The model is lovely. The render is nice too. Just not textured, I'm assuming, at the moment. Unless it's really new, maybe. Even then, I'd maybe, yeah. I'm going to assume not fully textured, maybe. You're going to tell me now it's fully textured, aren't you? It's a very nice model though. It looks great. Nice detail work. Down to the screws and yep, nice edge work as well. Actually, I really like your edge work. Nice smooth edges here. No, it's looking really, really nice. It's a nice model. Yeah. Nice detail. Looks great. Yeah, not good. Not textured. Good. You're going to texture all the scopes together. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan, actually. Yeah, do it all together. Yeah. Sounds like the way to go. And the scope is looking very nice. And I look forward to seeing it textured up. Are you doing any more work on the environment you're doing in Unreal? I know you were doing some work in Unreal as well. Maybe you're just a bit busy and haven't got back to doing it yet. Because that was looking really cool too. I'm going to double click this so I can get to these assets individually, I think. I always move it when I don't mean to. Thought that's what was going on. You'll notice here that my axes on this look all, they are actually all. So for instance, if I want to scale the width, I have to use the top one here, and that's because the asset's been rotated. I forgot about that. So I'm just going to scale these pieces in to fit this window a bit better. Sniper says he has a bit more work to do on the environment. You've been making rocks and bushes for it, as well as getting some good textures to work with. Yep, cool. Well, like we've been saying, everything takes time, so just going to make sure I want to scale this in so it doesn't stick through my window like that. Let's pull it in, there we go. Yeah, but as far as 3D modeling goes, games development is the most time consuming because there's just so much you've got to do for a game. You know, all the environment pieces, whether it's the outside environment or the inside environment, you've got to look at everything, because anything real time where people can run around and look at whatever they want whenever they want, as opposed to a render that you do maybe in your 3D program in V-Ray or whatever, where you choose what the camera's looking at. Yeah, it takes a lot more work. For instance, this building that we're working on here, I have all of these side rooms off of the main stairwell, which I'm not going to take the camera into, so I'm probably not going to even finish the insides of those rooms in here. Simply because, yeah, like I said, the camera is never going to come in here in our cinematic. We're going to go up the stairwell. I may change my mind and maybe do one room somewhere along the way, but so I can ignore those rooms. But if you're making a game, you'd have to make sure you did all those rooms as well.